users that we're meeting are looking at cloud for a number of reasons. Cost is definitely one factor, but I think actually a greater driver is being liberated from having to maintain data centers and servers and all of the IT infrastructure that surround those. I think people see that as a massive advantage, and that going with the cloud will allow them to focus much more on strategy rather than on the detail of IT.
If you're looking at the number one factor for companies to move into the cloud is mainly to try to benefit the economies of scale of moving in cloud technologies, i.e. really reducing the total cost of ownership of their IT solutions. That's one of the major factors. Another factor that we keep saying, keep coming up, is the ability to work with remote users. So whether it's a mobile workforce, whether it's a supply chain management over continents, etc.
Well, cloud isn't a new movement really. It's something that's been growing for some time. I don't think it's a sort of bandwagon that's come out of nowhere. I think it basically delivers a number of key advantages. It does save cost. It definitely reduces complexity. It allows companies to be more flexible, more agile, which is absolutely important in a time like this when it's very hard to predict where the market's going. So there are a whole range of advantages. And I'd also say to customers, you don't necessarily have to go 100% into the cloud. Dip your toe in, try a particular application, try it in a small part of the business. We're finding a lot of people are doing that just to test it out and make sure the concepts work for them.
On one hand, people would like to try to benefit from lowering their IT costs. So anything about that you can share with people resources like databases, like CPUs and so on, that makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, a lot of people are really afraid to take their uniqueness in the market, their competitive, or every company define their own crown jewel, whatever they want to define it, and put it up there into the public sphere to use. I think if we're looking at the recent Gartner report about clouds, it's all about private clouds, which is a bit nonsense. I mean, what is a private cloud? But it's very much of a human behavior. People would like to start experimenting with things, would like to start utilizing maybe some of the remote user interactions, as we discovered as one of the factors, all to benefit of some of the reduction in cost. But with time, they would feel more and more comfortable of moving more and more functionality, more and more business logic and data into the cloud.
The cost of it is obviously important, the cost of implementing something, the cost of acquiring something. But that's the upfront cost. Then there's the ongoing resource requirement to track, to maintain, to upgrade, to make sure that your product is always going to be at its leading edge, to ensure your own company and the business you're involved in can continue to concentrate on what it really wants to and enable it to grow and develop in its own marketplace. So I think trading through the web enables both those things. It does enable cost, but it enables true value, which in turn frees up organisations to really concentrate on their core competencies rather than maybe a pseudo IT competence that we can provide via the cloud. That infrastructure is there.
On one hand, you can come to us and using our application platform, which is hosted and bolted into our hardware, and pay per user per month if you want. On the other hand, you can just use our application platform for the cloud and utilize any of existing hosters in the market like OpSource, IBM, Amazon, Bungie, whoever you wish to, or go to some of our partners that we networked with. Or you can even host it yourself as a company, or you can even bring it into the company, not as a cloud technology, but as an on-premise technology. And this is exactly what we offer them in Magic. The ability to do whatever they want, and they can move in between each of the modules anytime they feel it's the right time for their organization, or they would like to benefit more from specific factors, and they can do that. Of course, they can as well work in parallel, so they can use something as our hosting environment to reach thousands of users in one part of the business or one part of the business process, and using something on-premise for the other part of the business.
The definition of the cloud is an obstacle to some people. I think increasingly people are starting to understand it. I think a bigger obstacle is a fear of not really knowing where my data really is, how secure is it, is this really something I can trust my whole business on? Our answer to that is actually, if you look at the security measures that many small and medium businesses have in place, if you look at the risks that they're open to, if you look at their disaster recovery, you look at the backup, sort of regime that they have in place. Actually, a lot of them are quite poor, and in fact putting your data out into the cloud and running applications which are professionally hosted in data centers, which are secure, which do regular backups, which have disaster recovery regimes built in, is in fact much better, much more secure than their current situation.
The issue of ownership and keeping on premise is becoming less compelling to what it used to be. I think there are a number of emotive issues to do with ownership, keeping things on board, but most individuals now bank over the internet through some sort of a cloud, and they're quite happy to do that. So they themselves as individuals are freeing up and allowing their own personal information to be cloud-based and managed through the cloud. So I see it less of an issue for businesses if they think about it that way. And secondly, and very importantly, economies of scale. Companies operating through the cloud are able to invest significantly more in security, in accessibility, in legacy, all sorts of issues that they themselves in a smaller entity may well not be able to do. So they can benefit from the latest technology much quicker, which in turn again gives them a faster and a quicker way to executing their own business strategies in their own marketplaces that they wouldn't necessarily be able to do if they stayed on premise.
I think it will always be complementary. I don't ever foresee a future where cloud will replace managed services. It certainly won't replace outsourcing, because outsourcing is a commercial contractual model, whereas we see cloud as a service provision model. And there's no reason why cloud can't be part of an outsourcing deal. And indeed, in many of the recompetes for outsourcing contracts that we have that are due to come up in the next 2 or 3 years, we're already in conversation with the clients talking about a cloud component of that outsourcing deal. In the future, we always envisage a mixed hybrid model of delivery where we will always blend together outsourcing, managed services, cloud integration, systems integration and straight cloud services. I don't think it will ever be pure. I think to best serve our customers, we need to have this hybrid model in existence.
The cloud really changes everything, and as a provider of business tools to global business, being at a conference like this really brings home the interest and as well as the developing adoption of these types of services across global business. We're a US-based company, but really see the global need for cloud adoption. And I think global business is appreciating the economies of scale that global cloud adoption gives you.
The challenges facing the IT director are still going to be there, but they'll be slightly recategorized. So what's going to become keenly important as organizations move to the cloud is the whole area of information management. And I think we need to step up our game significantly in that area to take good use of the cloud. And in addition to that, I think the IT directors will get the opportunity to move much closer to the business as more of the services that the IT department were delivering become seen as actually business services, nicely wrapped, ready to run.
Drivers of cloud adoption today are very interesting. I think a temporary driver of cloud adoption was the recent economic distress. People who really wouldn't have thought about cloud were driven almost by necessity to think about innovative ways to cut budgets. What I think is very interesting, though, is that after this period passes, and maybe, God willing, we're through much of it, that is not going to lead to a return of business as usual. I think once these cloud services have been adopted, the momentum is going to really shift. And there's two primary reasons. One is the enormous benefit of application quality. I think one of the things that is really becoming clear is that the rapid development cycle around cloud applications has enabled people to get an actual better product out to the market, more responsive to customer needs. And I think also at the same time it has allowed people to become more strategic about their business because they're more able to nimbly deploy business systems.
There is a view, quite a reasonable view, that IT departments at best will be repurposed in the future in a cloud environment, as lots of the infrastructure and software support, maintenance and delivery comes pre-packaged as a service from the cloud. And at worst, it could be that the IT department in some organisations will disappear completely.